The Book of Esther is the 17th book in the Old Testament of the Bible and is widely known as one of the most intriguing and beloved stories in the Bible. It tells the story of a young Jewish girl named Esther and her rise to become Queen of Persia, saving her people from a plot to destroy them. The book is set during the time of the Persian Empire, specifically in the capital city of Susa. The story begins with King Ahasuerus, also known as Xerxes I, hosting a lavish feast for his nobles and officials. During this feast, he commands his queen Vashti to come and display her beauty. However, Vashti refuses and is then banished by the king. This sets the stage for the search for a new queen throughout all the provinces of Persia. Among the young women brought to the palace to be presented to the king is Esther, a beautiful Jewish orphan who was raised by her cousin Mordecai. Esther finds favor in the eyes of the king and is chosen to be the new queen, though she keeps her Jewish identity a secret as instructed by Mordecai. Shortly after Esther becomes queen, Mordecai uncovers a plot by two royal officials, Bigthan and Teresh, to assassinate King Ahasuerus. He informs Esther, who in turn tells the king, and the conspirators are executed. This event would prove to be crucial later on in the story. Meanwhile, Haman, a high-ranking official in the King Et's court, becomes enraged when Mordecai refuses to bow down to him. Haman is a descendant of Agag, the king of the Amalekites who was killed by the Israelites in the time of King Saul. As a result, Haman holds a grudge against the Jews and plots to destroy them all. Haman goes to King Ahasuerus and convinces him to issue a decree ordering the extermination of all the Jews in the kingdom on a specific day. The king, without knowing Esther's true identity, gives Haman his signet ring, which grants him the power to carry out this decree. Esther learns of this decree and is dismayed. Mordecai urges her to use her position as queen to plead with the king to spare her people. However, approaching the king without being summoned is a grave offense and could result in death. Yet, Esther decides to take the risk and invites the king and Haman to a banquet, not revealing her intention at first. At the banquet, the king asks Esther what she wishes for, and she requests that they attend another banquet the following day. Haman is delighted and even orders a gallows to be built to execute Mordecai. However, that night, the king is unable to sleep and orders for the book of records to be read to him. It is then that he discovers the record of Mordecai's bravery in revealing the assassination plot against him. The king is reminded that Mordecai had never been rewarded for his loyalty. The next day, at the second banquet, Esther finally reveals her Jewish identity to the king and pleads with him to save her people from the decree of Haman. The king is outraged and orders for Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. In addition, the king allows Mordecai to issue a counter-decree, granting the Jews the right to defend themselves against their enemies on the designated day. The Jews, who were originally helpless against their enemies, now have a fighting chance thanks to Esther's bravery and Mordecai's wise counsel. On the day of the battle, the Jews are victorious and are able to defend themselves against their enemies. They then celebrate their triumph on the following day, which is known as the Festival of Purim. This feast became an annual event to commemorate the salvation of the Jews, and it is still celebrated by Jews all around the world today. The Book of Esther is a beautiful story about courage, faith, and the power of God. It also highlights the themes of divine providence and the consequences of pride and vengeance. Through the actions of Esther and Mordecai, we see the triumph of good over evil and the preservation of the Jewish people. This book also holds great significance for Christians, as it foreshadows the ultimate salvation brought by Jesus Christ. Just as Esther risked her life to save her people, Jesus also gave his life to redeem his people from sin and death. In summary, the Book of Esther teaches us valuable lessons about trust and obedience to God, even in difficult circumstances, and the importance of standing up for what is right and just. It is a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness and his sovereign plan for his people.